Mr. Pond Boss, tell me what to do to make all my lunker lay dreams come true.
Hello, everybody. Bob Lusk, the Pond Boss, coming at you live from somewhere in Missouri. Actually, so if Fred Bingman checks in a minute, I'm going to have to explain myself. I made some miles. You know what I got to tell you? First thing I want to start off with is the Institute of Higher Pondology. Well, another time was so much fun. We had an absolute blast at West Haven Ranch, starting Thursday evening, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and into the morning on Sunday. Had a great time. We had Travis and Tamara Pierce from Tyler, Texas. They've got a piece of property. There's Bill Shrum. Hey, Bill, we missed you, buddy. You need to ask John Dyer how it went. We had a big time at the Institute of Higher Pondology. Then we had Jay Spires come over from, he lives in the Carolinas, but he's got a property in Virginia with a pond on it that he wants to manage for trophy bass. John Dyer was there. Peyton Igo came. Let's see, Bobby and Jacob West were there. Tyson Keese, Extension Fisheries Specialist, Program Specialist from Overton, Texas, in the Tyler region. And let's see, Mark Fletcher from Arkansas was there. And man, we exchanged a whole lot of fun time. John Dyer, hey Bob, long time no talk. Like once today, once yesterday. So now we had so much fun. It's always energizing to hang out with fellow pondmeisters and share a whole bunch of different ideas and, spread the gospel about pond management. It's really fun to watch the looks on people's faces as things are kind of clicking into their minds. So, Sam Hackins, that's a new name. Glad to see you. Thought that was Tyson. Yes, he did build a shocker boat. Although, no, it's not Tyson. It's, oh, dude, now you got me. You're killing me, Smalls. Help me out here, John. Tyson Keith. Yeah, it is Tyson. Fred Bingaman, you're going to shoot me, but I'm hanging over in Pacific, Missouri. I've been making some miles. I was dragging a boat, and I'm in a little bit of a time crunch. So you know how that works, and of course it's an excuse. I don't know about that. Yep, Tyson. Yeah, he did. Tyson Keith did build his sharker boat. However, he worked with Smith Root to put together all the pieces. So there you go. So let's see here. Before I get too distracted, I'm going to kind of stick with the program here. Hashtag Pond Boss Magazine in the comment section. Click like. Share it to your timeline, and you're eligible for a drawing for a Pond Boss hat, which I wore today, because if I don't, this freaking mop that's on top of my head drives me nuts. So, to talk a little bit about the Institute of Higher Pondology, each one is a little bit different. We start off on a curriculum, but we always veer off from it. And John Dyer, this is his second one. He was at the one in October. But John, who's watching tonight, he is really, really fired up about it. As a matter of fact, he's trying to figure out, and it looks like he's kind of done it, how he recorded a couple of my conversations just for fun, and then figured out how to upload those into, I guess, a Google AI app that creates a podcast, which is fascinating to me. I mean, this stuff's developing faster than the speed of light in my mind. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, I don't know. But anyway, it's pretty deadgum interesting. And so he sent a couple of them to me today, and I have more questions than I've got answers, but I really, really like that idea. So John is very passionate about how to create things, how to build models for businesses, and with his lifelong experiences, he's got some really good ideas. So I can't wait to see how that works out. So then, I got home Sunday afternoon, spent a little time with Debbie. Then Monday morning, spent a little time with Debbie. Then I headed up to northeastern Missouri. And I want to talk to you guys about this. This is kind of fun. So there's a fellow that I coached up on how to build a habitat plan for his 6-acre lake that he was building right in the middle of corn country. So he bought a corner of property that was kind of an eroded gully that the farmer really didn't need. I mean, he could only farm up to a certain point. So this gentleman that bought the property he bought it in order to build a piece of recreational property for his family and friends and colleagues and clients. And I think it's probably 40 or 50 acres, but right in the corner, the lower right corner, which is going to be the southeast corner, there was a site to build a dam. So he found me through Kurt Schultz with Purina Mills, who Kurt has retired since then, and he wanted to develop a really fun fishing lake. So I made a couple of trips up there, coached him up on it. He did exactly what I told him to do. And then I connected him up with a hatchery up there in northeastern Missouri, and he stocked his fish about 2 years ago. Well, now he's catching a few of those fish, and he sent me a picture of a green sunfish. He didn't stock any green sunfish. He was a little bit perturbed because he was 100% convinced that the fish hatchery that I referred him to sold him a bunch of green sunfish. So I tried to explain to him, the green sunfish are in every watershed in the planet, and you've got a creek that you dammed up. You had some puddles there, and there's some ponds in the watershed, and immediately adjacent to his watershed, it's a cornfield, but there's some ponds upstream. Well, he's an erosion control specialist, so he went way above and beyond the call of most duties to minimize erosion and siltation coming into his pond. So he was pretty surprised to see green sunfish in there, which I was, but not really. So he was about ready to kind of strangle the fish hatchery. So he and I were talking about a week or 10 days ago, and I said, you know what we really need to do is see if we can't come electrofish it and take a look at it and see what you've got. Well, on short notice, it's kind of hard to pull that off, so I called the guys at Purina Mills, said, hey, are you ready to take a look at your lake? Yes, they were. So I borrowed an electrofishing boat because I don't own one, and I left yesterday, took Debbie to lunch in Granbury at 1:30, and then I took off, headed northeast. And I have driven since 1:30 yesterday afternoon, 1,000 miles, just maybe a little bit less than that. And I got to be back home tomorrow afternoon. So we spent about an hour and a half today in the borrowed electrofishing boat, and he has literally got thousands and thousands of bluegills. He didn't think he had any. So it gave him a little bit of peace of mind. Now that lake has been stocked about 2 years. Very, very rarely do I ever recommend electrofishing a pond that's less than 3 years old, with less than 3 years old with the fish stocking. The bass have been in there. I think the bluegill and the fathead minnows and red ear sunfish have been in there 2.5 years, and the bass have been in there for 2 years. We shocked up only one bass, which is completely normal, and it weighed 1 pound and I guess it's 1.63 pounds, almost a pound, almost like a 1 pound 11 ounces, and that fish is 2 years old. In northeastern Missouri, that's pretty good growth rates. He's got a whole lot of water that's 8 to 22 feet, and I'm pretty confident that the majority of the bass are there. He's got an outdoor water solutions aeration system. John Red went up there and met with him and designed an aeration system for him. So it was pretty dadgum fun just to go up there and take a look at that and give him a little peace of mind. So we shocked up probably 2,000 or 3,000 bluegill, 4 size classes. That's important. The feed hogs, which were 5 to 7 inches long. Then we had quite a few that were 4 to 5 inches long. Then a bunch that were 2 to 4 inches long, and a whole bunch that were just under 2 inches long. So his lake's right on track of where it ought to be. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make with you guys is that in a newly stocked pond, it's easy to kind of panic a little bit when it's not developing like you think it should. But he's another year away from having a really good fishing lake, and that's by design. So it's rocking along pretty good. Let me see. I'm gonna scroll down here and see some comments. Yep. Thank you, Fred. I'm forgiven. Mercy and grace coming from Fred. We love him. What was the largest bass from West this year? Bill, I think that bass was just under 7 pounds. I don't remember. I need to look at that. But maybe John can chime in. John's kind of working with the spreadsheet that Jim Allen has refined, and he's come up with some even deeper analytics than Jim Allen's got. While I'm thinking about it, Debbie wants me to switch times back to 6:30 instead of 7:30 because she wants me to be able to take her out to eat after I finish broadcasting on Tuesdays, and she doesn't want to wait till 8:30. Hello, Ron Krisman. I got your email. Have not been sitting still long enough to do it. John Henry, when I say do it, I mean answer it. John Henry, first question tonight. Nephew needs some help. We need someone to fix a drainage pipe in a 5-acre pond in North Mississippi. Do you have any recommendations? Absolutely, yes, I do. He needs to get in touch with Buddy. So let me see here. I'll give you his phone number. Hang on a minute. Buddy Floyd. I tell you what. I'm going to give you his phone number. He's not. What's he going to do? Slap me around? Buddy Floyd is in Como, Mississippi. He is absolutely one of the best out there. 662. No, you know what? Send me an email. BobLusk@outlook.com or info@pondboss.com, and I will send you Buddy Floyd, his contact information. Now, if Buddy chimes in tonight, you can connect with him on Facebook. Kenneth, glad to see you're still at it. Dude, yeah, I am. You need to advertise your YouTube page and cross over with Drinking Bros with the yeah. Hello, Kenny Sanderson. There's David. You know what? Kenneth, send me an email. We might need to hang out. Kenny Sanderson, northwestern, from Kansas. David Schneiderman, Easy Docks of Texas. Sam Hackins. Hey, I have a question. We had a pond, and it was built in the late 90s, only stocked with bluegill, channel catfish, and bass. No water flowing in. How the heck did golden shiners end up in it? By the way, this is in northeastern Kansas. I'll tell you exactly how that happened. One of your running buddies went to the bait store, bought a dozen minnows, used about 4 of them trying to catch some bass, and poured the rest of them in your pond. Bucket biology. Hey, Ron, I got your email, and I'm going to answer it, but Debbie and I we're going to go up to Sister Bay, Wisconsin, and we're going to go fishing with a friend of mine that's a guide, and then we're going to circle back around, and I think we're going to be able to run up to your place for a couple days. And John Funk, I don't remember where you are. We might be able to swing by and see you. I don't know. But send me some intel on that so I can figure that out. All right, Ken says, a guy like you would also do well on podcast at Timcast. I don't know what that is, just because it's pure and not political. I absolutely do have political opinions, but who cares? You know what? I don't care about your political opinions. You don't care about my political opinions. But when I talk about fish, you better care about my opinions. I'm way ahead of most everybody. Dave Weber, I'm in the same exact situation, northeast Kansas. Dave Weber, I thought you were in northwestern Missouri. Pond built in 1988, no running water in except, okay, so you guys are having a conversation. Elena, I just scrolled past it. Elena, your daddy sent me those pictures of you holding the bluegill up against your face. I'm probably going to publish those. Yep. Well, hey, Elena, she says, I hope you enjoy your stay. It's going to be really short. You know, one of the problems with being me is I don't plan anything out very far, ever. Ask Fred. when I plan something, I got like 2 days to get ready and go. So I'm not very good at that, planning things out. So I'm pretty spontaneous, and I'm going to be coming to Missouri a couple of more times. I don't know how far up I'm going to go. I know need to go to Bass Pro Shops. I'm going to go south to Kansas City. Okay, let's see. Yep. Nico Caminita. It's been a while. Yep. But you watch the lives afterwards, so you watch them after they're live. I get it. I went electrofishing for the first time last week, and that was definitely my favorite job I've ever done. That is really fun, dude. That's one of my favorite things. Sam Hackins, no live bait. That's what she said. Oh, John Dyer wants me to tell this. Okay, so John and I were texting. Well, he sent me a picture of a bluegill that had the bottom part of its gills completely blown out. Looked to me like a bird strike. So I texted him back and said I will tell a heron story if I remember. And he said he would remind me. I want to see what you guys are arguing about. Then I'm going to tell the blue heron story. Okay, so there's Danny Mack. Had to find you in the reels with a link to the actual live show. I don't know what to tell you about the notifications. I have no idea. I am not paying Facebook for anything, ever. I build my own audience. I'm not paying for them to help me build my audience. I ain't going to do it. I'd rather switch something else. I don't think Debbie's watching. If she was, she'd be talking to me. Okay, so here's the blue heron story. Speaking of Debbie, this was about 2004. So Debbie and I got married in 2002. We dated for a couple of years before that, got married, bought a place, built a pond in 2003. Then in 2004, I took on a consulting gig in upstate New York, and I was gone for a week to 2 weeks each month working on that project in upstate New York. And in the meantime, we built a swimming pond right next to the house, and I don't know how the fish got in it, but they did. So I'd set up a Texas Hunter feeder, and we were feeding bluegills, and they were coming to it really, really, really well. One night, she calls me up, it's right before dark, and I'd had the feeder set to go off right before dark, and she calls me. She says, Lusk, where's your shotgun? Well, I had a 410 that my daddy gave me when I was like 14 years old, and I said, why do you want my shotgun? She said, well, there's a big, tall, gray bird just speared one of your big bluegills down there by the feeder, and it's drug it up on the bank, and it's going to eat it. I said, well, honey, that's a great blue heron. You don't need to shoot it. It's just trying to make a living, and that's what they do. They spear fish, and then they eat the fish. And so I said, so I'm not going to tell you where my shotgun is. Well, I don't know, a week later, so I get home. She loved to drink coffee out on the porch. So, and I don't drink coffee, but I'm happy to sit with her while she does. So I went in, made her some coffee, went out, sat down, and I had the feeder going off twice a day. It went off like at daylight and at dusk. And the feeder went off right after daylight. We're sitting out there, she's drinking coffee, and here comes that great blue heron, and I mean, it spears a 3/4 pound bluegill that's about 1.5 years old that I've been feeding faithfully. Drags that fish out on the shore, and I know it can't swallow it. No way. So it's trying to break it up with its beak, and I get up. She says, where are you going? So I'm going to go get my shotgun. Plus, I'd already told her, if you shoot that bird, that's a federal offense. They're federally protected, and it's a $10,000 fine. I'd left that out a while ago. So I got up. She says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to go get my shotgun. She says, you're not going to shoot lurch, are you? She'd named the darn bird. So I went down there, and I forgot about I wasn't going to shoot the bird, so to speak. I shot the bird, but I didn't shoot the bird. So then I went down to the feeder, and I set it to go off about an hour before daylight and an hour after dark, and that put a stop to lurch coming up and eating my bluegills. All right, Danny Mack. I had to find you in the reels with a link to I've got no note. I don't know how. Maybe you should allow their scam ads in a break at 30 minutes. Dude, I don't know how to do that. Dean Gilmore from Ontario, Canada. Hello, Dean Gilmore. Scott Groons. Scott, I've been getting some overtures from an attorney out of Tulsa that's got a place just outside of Beggs, but another place east of there, and he's wanting me to come do some electric fishing. Send me your contact information. I might be able to swing by and say hello. Hello, Troy Seal. Sam Hackett. Nobody ever bucket stocked it. No one ever used live bait or cut bait. Me and my family only have ever fished. The only other way that golden shiners can get into a pond like that then is if they're alive in the watershed somewhere and they swam in. That's the only other way. Danny Mack said the bird will spear fish too big. Hello, Ron Ardoin. Okay, so let me see here. Kenneth is sending me Timcast. Okay, I will dig into that after the show, unless I want to go to sleep. Well, Ron, we missed you cooking at the Institute of Higher Pondology, but we had a big time. And I tell you, hey guys, listen. I'm working on something really, really fun for the next one. We were brainstorming, and somebody came up with an idea that it kind of pissed me off. I didn't think of it. I'm not going to tell you what it is until I confirm it. But if I confirm this for next fall, every one of you are going to want to come do this. So give me a few days to confirm it. And once I get it nailed down and get a yes, then I'll announce it, and you guys would have an amazing time doing what I'm thinking about doing. No watershed, Sam says. Sam, I'm glad you're here. There has to be a watershed. Unless you built that pond above ground and you fill it with a well. If you don't have a watershed, then you don't have a way to get water in there. So, I'm not going to sit here and argue about this. I got a jump start on you for learning this stuff. I'm not going to tell you that birds bring those fish in, because they don't. But for golden shiners to get into a pond, it typically happens from bucket biology. That's how it typically happens. Otherwise, there's got to be a pond downstream from yours. I mean, we all live downstream from somebody. And if there's a pond downstream and the timing is right and you had a rain where your pond overflowed, fish will swim up from downstream coming into yours. So you ask me for an answer, there's my answer. And I'm going to stick with it. Scott, just let me know. Yeah, I know you're east of Beggs, and this attorney friend has got one. I guess he's northeast of Beggs, and he's got another place east of Beggs. And there was another lake I worked on, good gosh, for 8 or 10 years back in the late 90s. And I think that landowner is now he's in his late 80s, so I'm not sure he even has that property anymore. He's on Facebook, but he's non-responsive. So guys, pitch me a few questions, because it's almost 8 o'clock, and I'm tired as heck from driving, because I've driven I think like 30 miles, under 1,000 miles since 1:30 yesterday. So while you're doing that, let's do a commercial. Pure in the Mills. I love their fish foods. I'm going to be with those guys tomorrow. I borrowed an electric fishing boat. John Dyer, that's pretty funny. We love Ron Ardoin from Lake Charles, Louisiana. He makes some really, really, really great Cajun food. But he buys his boudin. And that was kind of the one of the highlights of the Institute of Higher Pondology back in October of last year. So, you guys keep paying attention about the next institute, and once I get some answers, you guys are going to really, really, really be interested. And I'm only going to have room for like 20 people. So we'll see. I'm going to finish my commercial, Scott, and then I'll come right back to you. Purina Mills, Aquamax MVP. I told the guys the story about how Aquamax, how Game Fish Chow was born, which was a pretty interesting story. I'll tell that again one of these days. Matter of fact, that's going to be in one of my books I'm writing right now. But I love Purina Mills MVP Fish Foods. I love their MVP. I love their 600, 500, their sport fish chows. Those are really good quality feeds. So, I've been a big proponent of them. I've been loyal to them, and I've seen what those feeds do. Those feeds grow some gigantic sunfish. I mean, 3 pounds and 4 ounces is the biggest bluegill I've seen. I don't think very many people are going to grow a bluegill that big. I really, really don't. But I'm going to tell you this. Every one of us can grow a bluegill over 2 pounds with that fish food. It's a little pricey, but, what's that worth? And it's so efficient. It's very, very efficient. Texas Hunter Products. I haven't talked to Chris Blood in a while. I meant to call him today, but I ran out of time. So, Chris Blood, Texas Hunter Products, great products, even better customer service. Their products are amazing, but so is their customer service. David Schneiderman, here he is. Easy Docks of Texas. If you need a place to store your jet ski or a boat dock in a lake that fluctuates, floating boat docks, he's the guy. He is the guy. BirdDogIt.com. That's my son Jonathan. Check that out. He's got a very unique business model for hunting and for land use. So check him out. Daniel Weaver, I see that. Hey, Bruce Condello. Good to see my good dear friend from Lincoln, Nebraska. Thank you, man. When you tell me I'm looking good, dude, you're the most handsome guy on the planet. So I take that as a measurable compliment. Thank you very much. So now, I'm sure I left somebody out. So I got, let's see, Texas Hunter, Purina Mills, Easy Docks of Texas, Bird Dog. That's the highlights. All right, so now let me back up here. There's Mark Hicks. Okay, Scott Groons, do gizzard shad have multiple spawns per year? Typically, they don't. Typically, gizzard shad release all their eggs at once. They're semi-buoyant. Some of them will adhere to plant life. But when they spawn, a 2-pound gizzard shad will lay 250,000 eggs. And as a reminder, why do they call a gizzard shad a gizzard shad? You guys know why. Well, 6 of you guys just yelled at the dadgum screen. Because they have a gizzard. Yeah, that's right. They do. They're bottom feeders. They're filtering their food from the mud. But no, gizzard shad don't have multiple spawns. But threadfin shad do have multiple spawns. They are filter feeders. They're filtering their feed out of the water while gizzard shad are eating off the bottom. John Cruitt, hey Bob, I just got back from a trip to Big Stone Lake, South Dakota. We constantly caught bluegill 1 to 2 pounds and possibly a few over. Do you think that's genetics or abundance of food? I mean, we could catch them all day long. Both. I think that is a function of good local genetics. I think it's a function of the right spawning habitat. I think it's the function of the productivity of the lake with the right insects and the right bait fish and the right scuds. That lake, I think Big Stone Lake, is loaded with scuds. And that being the case, and with the wind and wave action, those scuds thrive. And as the scuds thrive, so do the bluegill. So I think it's genetics, but I also think it's an abundance of the right kind of food at the right time. There's Tommy Welsh, our favorite tattoo artist. How much should a bluegill weigh at 2 years of age? Supplemental feeding. I'm going to tell you a bluegill at 2 years of age, the best of the best bluegill should weigh a little over 1/4 pound at 2 years, and some of them could weigh close to 1/2 pound. So if they weigh 6 ounces, that's really good at 2 years of age. At 4 years of age, they should be knocking on the door of 1.25 pounds to 1.5 pounds, and by the time they hit 6, that's when they ought to be close to 2 pounds. Bluegills tend to live 6 to 8 years. That's a typical lifespan. Josh Milszewski. Am I close? I love Josh. Christopher Aguilar, who is the Boudin man. I'm trying to teach her on about Boudin, but he was raised in the wrong part of Louisiana. Yeah, well, we can't all be so fortunate as to be raised in Lake Charles. So, Ron, what do you got to say to Christopher Aguilar? Am I pronouncing his name right? I've been doing it for years, and dude, I don't know if I got it right or not. Daniel Weaver, will you get any natural hybrids if you stock green sunfish with your bluegills? Yes, you will. Actually, in that lake that I electrofished today in northeastern Missouri, I showed the guy where there was some natural hybridization going on between his green sunfish and his bluegill, and I kind of look at that as a plus in the interim. So what we saw there in that lake were at least 4 size classes of bluegill. There were the feed hogs that were stocked originally. That lake was stocked with 1,000 bluegills per acre 2.5 years ago, like in October of whatever 2.5 years ago was, 2023. You know, and then the bass were added in 2024. So the bass and yellow perch were added in 2024, in the spring of 2024, I think. I know the bass were. The yellow perch might have been later than that in the fall. But where I was going is now there's bluegill that are about 1/2 inch long. There's some that are about 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches. Some 2 to 3s, handful of 4s. So I know there's 4 size classes. There are probably 5 size classes. The other interesting thing about that one, he's got an outdoor water solutions aeration system that's got 4 bubble plumes. Every single bubble plume we went over was loaded with 2 to 3 inch bluegills. That's a little bit rare. What that tells me is the bass have not dominated that lake yet, or those bluegill would not be out in the middle of the lake hanging around a bubble plume. Danny Mack, a dumb tax. My Pumped Creek has a nice large pool. It was full of minnows, smart enough to not go over the falls, so I put 20 hybrid stripers, 3 to 4 inches, in that pool. All but 4 went over the falls. Well, John Harson, good evening to John. Danny Mack, I'm hoping to be healthy to attend the next Institute of Higher Pondology. Well, let's talk about that. Bob, hey Bob, I was tasked with asking you about the mullet. Dude, I don't have a mullet. Knock it off. Look, there is no mullet here. It's just, I'm a hippie now. I think I told you all that story. I'm going to tell you this. So, a little over a year ago, and a lot of you guys know my wife. I know that Josh has met my wife, Bruce has, Danny Mack has, Ron has, John Dyer has, and my wife has got a little ferocity to her. And so about a year ago, I was getting a little scraggly, and she looked at me and she said, "Hey, you need to go get a haircut." I said, "Nah." And I did that just to jerk her chain, just see what she would say, because I like to do that. It's kind of fun sometimes. And I thought she'd say, "I told you to go get a haircut." And she looked at me, she said, "What?" I said, I'm going to let it grow out. And I was stunned by what she said. I should have just shut my mouth and gone to get a haircut. She said, "Have you ever let your hair grow out before?" I said, "No, I never have." She says, "I like that idea." I thought, oh crap, this backfired in my face. So now I'm letting my hair grow out because she wants me to. It's driving me nuts. Now I have to I don't like wearing a hat, but now I have to wear a hat if the wind is blowing, because it gets in my face and my eyes. And I've actually been to her beauty shop twice, and I'm learning about frickin' product. I can't go to Sports Clips anymore and get a frickin' haircut. I need y'all to bail me out. When do I start my band's first tour? Yeah, so I'm not a deadhead, but I just look like the one on TV. John Kerr had never seen anything like it. Yes. Ooh, yeah, I nailed it. Hello, Jim Allen. Good to see you. We're talking about you this weekend at the Institute of Higher Pondology. Mark Hicks, will white perch overpopulate in a 2.5 acre pond like crappie? Okay, so Mark Hicks, we need to kind of lay this out there. There is a species of fish called white perch that are not crappie. So in the South, when people say white perch, they think you're talking about crappie because that's kind of the colloquial name for crappie, white perch. Real white perch will overpopulate in a pond, but not like crappie. Crappie will overpopulate, dominate, overcrowd, outcompete, and they just don't work very well. But white perch, they're not quite as bad, but they will. John Harrison, I want to let you know that the clumpy MVP I have plugged up my Texas underfeeder. I had to remove all the food. I will be with Purina tomorrow, and I am going to tell them that. I'm really irritated about it. It's just pissing me off, actually. Yeah, you know what? If you don't mind, reach out to Purina and tell them, but I'm going to tell them tomorrow because they're losing control of their quality control. It's aggravating as heck to me. Such a good feed to not be... You know, fish food is kind of a stepchild to Purina Mills, and it's aggravating. And it's such a good feed. Such a good feed. I may get fired as being one of their ambassadors. Time will tell. I'll know tomorrow. Well, I may not know tomorrow. John Henry, 1 acre pond, catfish, bass, bluegill. Here's the problem. Green sunfish are the dominant fish, but we like to switch that to bluegill. Been introducing hand-picked lake bluegill, trying to make them the main food source. Also taking out as many green sunfish as possible. Is it possible to make that happen? Absolutely it is. So John, here's what will happen. I don't remember where you are, but what will happen is the bass are your top line predators, channel catfish are second. So over some span of time, probably 1.5 to 2 years, the bass will catch up with the green sunfish's ability to reproduce and diminish their numbers. Green sunfish don't live quite as long as most bluegills, and they spawn once a year, where bluegills, depending on where you are, like in northeastern Missouri, I just saw where they were spawning at least 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year. So the fact that bluegill can reproduce more than green sunfish and bass are constant feeders, a little Pac-Man always eating something, what's going to happen is the bass will do you a favor, so will the channel catfish, and reduce the number of green sunfish. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So hang in there. Danny Mac. I love me some Bay Miltonberger. Hey, Bay's taking up for me on this haircut, boys. No business in front. It can't be a mullet. Business in front, party in the back. Yep. Hey, Peyton. Good to see you, buddy. Peyton Igo's checking in. He was at the Institute, and he was over at Bay's place back in March. Bay, you and I need to catch up tomorrow. I've been really, really digging down into this genetic study, and I'm ready to make that phone call. So I don't know if you're available tomorrow, but I'd really like to catch up with you. So I've got to be at Purina Mills in the morning at 9. So when I hit the road, I'll ring your number if you got time to talk. John Arson, I'm seeing hybridization in my 1-year-old lake. My hybrid bluegill are breeding with my red ear. That's a little unusual, but it's not impossible. I caught a couple of fish colored just like red ear. They had yellow and white on the fins. They were small and not any of the hybrid. You know, so that could be. That could be. You know, when those hybrid bluegill, 95% of those are males. So if you've got some hybrid crosses between hybrid bluegills and red ear, it's going to be a cross between a male hybrid bluegill and a female red ear. Which, take some pictures of that and send it to me. Email me, boblusk@outlook.com. Danny Mac, I had that hair until my first chemo. That can't be the dog or the cat. Trey Carpenter. I love me some Trey from Burnett, Texas. The things you do for love. I cannot sing. I'm talking about real white perch, Mark says. Okay, real white perch, they're not going to dominate the fishery like a bluegill was. Pond Boss uses this product. And I don't even know what it is. I mean, I'll be in the bathroom and just wash my hair, and all of a sudden, these two beautiful hands are looking at me, and here she comes like this. She rubs stuff, and she goes, and I have no idea what it is. John Harson, $70 a bag. You know, you're around. Okay, green sunfish are a great bait fish. For what? Oh, come on, Christopher Aguilard. Green sunfish are a great bait for what? Bass, catfish, big blue cats, sockeye. Tell them what a sockeye is, because they don't know. Just about to knock out a bottle of wine and lay down and go to sleep in a minute. Let's see here. Danny Mac, my first ever bag of food came from some big company like ConAgra and a basketball-sized middle clump of molded cemented feed. Warehouses too close to the floods? Dude, I don't know. Josh wants to know what conditioner. I don't know. It just shows up. I mean, I have a product fairy. I have no idea. I have no idea. All I know is I carry a brush around now, and I don't know anything about it, and it's irritating. Y'all need to help me out, because I have no idea. No idea. Here's what my wife says. Lusk, you're 70 years old, you have great hair, there's a lot of guys your age that don't have any hair, and you're pissing them off. I don't know what to think about that. I don't know what conditioner I use. All I know is it shows up. That bed looks like a mansion. Well, okay. So I'm hanging out in a Comfort Inn in Pacific, Missouri. And let me see, what's it got up there? Oh, yeah, there's 4 pillows. I can make a throne here in a minute. Chuck Brinkman. Chuck, I'm going to use Elena's picture, but I may need to call you for a little interview with Elena. Your daughter, both your daughters are amazing. Chuck Brinkman is an amazing parent model. I mean, that guy, he and his wife, they've got these girls in the country, and they're raising fish. And you know what? They're using fish for science projects at school. You know what, Christopher Aguilard? That's what that guy told me today, that I look like the Grateful Dead dude, but I think he's dead, isn't he? And I'm not. Maybe I have an advantage. You guys are so funny. Okay, Chris, let's see, Chuck says, our pond is approaching 9 years now, 3/4 acre, been a great pond for sure. About how long before I expect to see a decline in fish quality due to the lack of new genes? I don't think you're going to see a decline in fish because of the genetics. I think you're going to see a decline in the fishery because of age. So when you've got those big catfish, those big bass, here's the way to look at that. I'm going to use like NFL football players. They age out. Of course, when they age out, it's because they've been beat up. Their knees are gone, you know. Their bodies have taken a pummeling. So what happens in a pond is the fish begin to age out if you don't have good recruitment. You know, if you don't have the junior varsity coming up to play varsity and enough of the good varsity players to get on into the NCAA and enough of those to make it to the NFL, that's what causes a pond to begin to decline. But it's not because of genetics as much as it's because of age. So what you'll see is those catfish and those bass will begin to age out. And if you've got a pretty good little harvest plan, and you know, so I'm going to back up. 3/4 acre, that's an easy fix. You can fix that in one day. You know, and if you need to talk about that, we can. But what'll happen is you'll have those fish get big. You got happy water, you got great habitat, you got the right kind of food chain, got the right kind of genetics, you got a pretty good harvest plan. At some point, though, with that harvest plan, if you're protecting the best of the best begin to age out, just like me. Wait, I haven't aged out yet, but I'm working on it. So it's going to be more of an aging issue than it is a genetic issue. Now, that's not going to just blow out the concept that you need to add better genetics from time to time. Think about today's NFL stars. Those guys have the best fast twitch muscles. They're the strongest, fastest, quickest. Go back 40 years. Look at Bob Lilly. That guy couldn't compete now, and he's one of the most all-time great football stars ever. But the evolution has been that these athletes now are peak performers. And so where I'm going is that your fish are performing. So it's not going to be so much about the genetics as it's going to be how well you provide the 5 key points: happy water, right habitat, which you got the happy water, which we've had that talk about. Chuck, your water, I mean, there was a time where your fish were just about to go belly up, dude, and you ran down to Home Depot, bought a pump, cleaned your water up, you figured out how to play that game. So with good water, with a good bit of habitat and a great food chain, those two girls are, learn how to play the game. Green sunfish are great catfish bait. Yes, they are. Jerry Garcia has expired. I love Bay. Bay is one of my most faithful people. You may have made a better life decision so along the way. Well, I can't sing like he does, but I guess I can look like him. I don't know. I don't remember what he looks like. All right, John Crew. Bob, can't thank you enough for your phone call and identifying what was going on with my bluegill when I thought it was ick. I wasn't able to get a hold of the antibiotics to mix them in my feed. Thankfully, the problem went away on its own. And I probably, let's see what that is. Bear with me. Lost less than 20 bluegill from. Hey, you're welcome. That's why I'm here. So, you guys pitch out a few more questions because I got to dig back into that genetic study a little bit more. I'm not the smartest guy on the planet, but I'm pretty competitive about this stuff, and I do want to talk to Bay tomorrow about this genetic study because we're doing some very, very cool fishery science with Bay. And you know what, Bay, I know you want to remain mostly anonymous, but I just got to tell people I am so thrilled to be able to work with you and to help figure out the big jigsaw puzzle of your lake, and we are on our way to something pretty darn cool. And the genetic piece is part of it. Jerry Garcia has expired like bad milk. You may have made better life decisions. Yeah, I don't know what kind of decisions he made. All right, Bill Schrum, Blake from Bass Pro. I talked to Blake today. Was telling me I've also seen infection issues with Floyd tags. I'm considering using pit tags. Is there a brand you recommend? Biomark. Look up Biomark. Okay, so here's what happened. Bill put some Floyd tag into a bass, and he got infected around it. Let me tell you this, Bill. When we were shocking at the West Haven Ranch this last weekend, Friday, Saturday, and part of I guess Friday, Saturday, we shocked up probably 20 bass that we had tagged, and you were involved in that. So we shocked up 20 bass that were tagged. Some were a year ago, some were last October. Not one of those bass had an infection. None of them. So there's something that may have happened with yours where you had one that did get infected. But the pit tags, look at Biomark. But the problem with pit tags is the tag reader is $1,700. You can't see any pit tags, and each pit tag can range, depending on the ones you buy, from $3 to $5 per tag. And the ones that we used at Base Place back in March are the same tags that people put, that the veterinarians use to tag your dog or your cat with the same chip. So be picky about what you do. So look at Biomark if you're going to be digging into that. So guys, I'm kind of running out of topics and I'm running out of gas and I'm a little bit tired. And Bay, I want to talk to you tomorrow. So first thing in the morning, I'm going to go through that genetic report for the 5th time. And then I'll ring you when I finish over at Purina Mills. I'm going to meet them at 9 o'clock. So I should be finished and back on the road by, 10:30-ish or so. So I'll ring you sometime after that. Hello, Christy Berg. Well, the reader is at my house, which it was in my truck last time I was at your house when we were doing the crawdad thing, and I flat ass forgot to give it to you. But I've been taking care of it. I promise. Uh-oh. Bill Shaw, a fellow Pond Boss Forum member, and I have been emailing about them. He found some on Amazon, $30 for the reader, individually packaged with a needle or $2.50. Well, that's something I don't know anything about. I know nothing about that. Josh Milszewski. In my 1 acre pond, smallies, yellow perch, walleye, wipers, red ears, hybrid bluegill, golden shiners, only smallies, cod, and monsters, 18 plus, but they're few and far between. Have spawning structure in place. Should I stock more? Hopefully restart the reproduction. Stock more what? Dude, you got a 1 acre pond. Let's process that. Smallmouth bass, yellow perch, walleye, wipers, red ears, hybrid bluegill, golden shiners. Only smallies, cod, and monsters, 18 plus. But they're few and far. Oh, okay. Have spawning structures. Okay, those smallmouth bass are not going to reproduce successfully where you've got yellow perch, walleye, wipers, red ears, hybrid bluegill, golden shiners. What you don't have are bluegills. You're not going to be able to restart the reproduction. The reproduction is probably going on, probably happening. The problem is you got so many predators in there that a baby smallmouth wouldn't dare live long enough to see daylight. John Dyer, I'll put some specs in the Internet Institute of Hydropondology group on the West Haven stats from last. Okay. All right. So we do have an Institute of Hydropondology Facebook group for those of you that have attended. So John Dyer is going to put that up. All right. Let's see here. John Terrell. Hey, buddy. I'll be roaming through your part of the country tomorrow. I'll be coming right through, coming down Highway 69 from Big Cabin. The reader does. Bae, I love you. You're so funny. The reader doesn't need product. I do. All right. So, hey, guys, I'm going to wrap it up and call it a day. I'm whipped. So we're 53 minutes in. It's 8:23. So I'm not sure where I'll be next Tuesday. But, by the way, to honor my wife, the queen, the Pond Boss, Debbie Dobbs Lusk, she wants me to broadcast at 6:30. I know that's inconvenient. Doesn't matter to her. But she wants me to take her out to dinner after I finish. And Bay Miltonberger has a wife. He knows how that works. And so do most of you guys. So, I love hanging out with you guys, and I will plan on seeing you at 6:30 next Tuesday night, wherever I'm hanging out. I don't even know the date. I think we might be in June by then. I don't know. Hell. So, adios for now. Bye.